Most expat mums I know are trying to raise kind, confident, emotionally healthy children. But somewhere along the way, between countries and cultures and constantly adapting, many of us forget to nurture those parts in ourselves too. So today, I want to share with you why I'm creating a community called Raising Change Globally and who it's really for. Hi, I'm Angela. I lived overseas for 30 years across 11 different countries. I raised 2 children. I'm now repatriated. I've been through an expat divorce and a cancer diagnosis, and I'm here to talk honestly about all of it. If there's one passion that has stayed with me throughout my entire life and work, it's children. Working with them, advocating for them, trying to understand them, and helping them feel seen and heard as unique individuals in their own right. Over the years, I've studied neurodevelopment, applied neuroscience, and childhood and youth studies, as well as coaching and mindfulness. And one thing that has become abundantly clear to me is that children learn so much more from who we are than anything we try to teach them. And that idea is at the heart of everything I'm building. The name Raising Change was inspired by a quote by Mahatma Gandhi that you may be familiar with. Be the change you want to see in the world. For me, this isn't about changing the world necessarily, or even raising children who feel responsible for changing the world. It's much more subtle than that. It's about how we live and how we treat ourselves and how or what our children absorb simply by being close to us. When I became a parent and as I listened to other parents along the way, I noticed something. We, particularly mothers, often put ourselves on hold while we focus on raising our children well. Not because our parenting is wrong, many of us choose this role wholeheartedly, but because over time, our own needs and our own sense of self can slowly fade into the background. And for expat mums, this can feel even more intense. Often there's our partner's career that we have to prioritize because that determines where we live and for how long we live there. And then there's the focus on doing the right thing for our children because we're making this choice for them to grow up in this environment. And it's not always ideal, and we don't want to mess them up. So we keep calm, we carry on, and somewhere along the way, we forget that we too have hopes and dreams and value beyond our family. Our needs and our identity and our sense of self tend to get pushed for later, and for some women, sadly, that later never comes. And then there's the globally part. Living overseas often means starting over again and again. New homes, new schools, new systems, new friends, new versions of yourself, which I like to call the Madonna effect because we're constantly reinventing ourselves to try to fit into the next place and the next role that we find ourselves in. And then, just as we begin to feel somewhat settled, it all shifts again. We're adapting constantly. Our support systems come and go or never even show up at all. I know I experienced extreme isolation in some of the countries I lived. And so we end up prioritizing everyone else's sense of stability over our own. And again, not because we're doing it wrong, but because we are holding so much together for everyone else. We're navigating identity and belonging for ourselves and our children while trying to create a home that feels safe enough for them to land. And in all of that, it is so easy for our own identity to blur into the background. Naming and talking about that experience matters because what we can name, we can begin to care for. So through coaching and mindfulness and education around child development, Raising Change Globally is about supporting expat mums to stay connected to themselves while raising their children on the expat trail. Not perfectly, not performatively like what we see on social media, but honestly and authentically. Over the years, I have met some incredible women through expat life, women with depth and wisdom and creativity and enormous resilience. And I kept thinking, wouldn't it be great if all of those women could gather in one place? And that's what I'm creating now, a space for like-minded expat moms wherever they are in the world and wherever they are on their parenting journey, whether it's new moms or empty nesters or women who just want to continue growing in themselves while raising children around the world. The Raising Change Globally School community is there to support expat moms through emotional well-being, self-development, and child development, which is really just human development for young people. And perhaps most importantly, it's a space to remember that you matter too. So I'd like to leave you with a few questions, not as any homework. You don't have to write it in a journal, nothing so formal, just something to consider or self-reflect on. When was the last time you truly felt like yourself? Not as a mom, not as a partner, not as an expat, but as you. What parts of you feel alive right now? And what parts are waiting, patiently or not, for your attention, for things to change so that you can focus on those things? And what kind of inner or emotional life do you hope your children grow up seeing modeled in you? Again, you don't need to answer all of these questions today. Sometimes just noticing how you react to the question is enough, because raising children well doesn't have to mean losing yourself. It can mean raising change by becoming the person you want your children to learn from. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.